So I finally saw Scream 7 today. I wasn't able to see it until like a week and a half after it came out. Um, but let me tell you something. It has been exhausting trying to avoid spoilers for this movie. And let me just start by saying I've been avoiding the trailers since the first. I watched the first trailer that came out, and I kind of watched it, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of giving a good chunk away. So now, after that, I stopped watching all the teasers and trailers that were dropping. Like, I would literally, if I was watching TV, close my eyes, plug my ears, walk out of the room. If I was at the movies and the trailer started, put my head down into my shirt, try and distract myself in my head so that I'm not like understanding what's going on. It's been exhausting. And then on top of that, you go on Twitter and there's just a bunch of angry Scream fans that don't want to see this movie or support this movie. They're spoiling it for people. And then you just got like movie news people that are like releasing every little bit of production news and like any little bit of stuff that's leaking online. And it's like, what do we, why does everyone enjoy ruining movies for themselves and for others? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So it's been exhausting, but I did a relatively good job of avoiding any spoilers for this movie. Um and the only thing I really saw was that like the critics scores for this movie were pretty bad. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't know if that was because of the production issues with or like the controversy with like Melissa Barrera firing. Wasn't sure about it, so I'm like, I'm still gonna go into this movie with an open mind because I'm like, it's a Scream movie. Like all the Scream movies are like decent or good, except for maybe Scream 3. And I personally don't. I'm not a hugest fan of Scream 6, but it's still a solid movie. It's just probably one of the worst Scream movies. So I came into this movie and I watched it and I enjoyed it. I I as I was watching it, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not a perfect movie. It's not great, but I think it did some things right. So I think right off the bat, Sidney Prescott or Sidney Evans, if this felt like it was Sidney again, because the Sidney Prescott we got in Scream 5 was not Sidney to me. I mean, she was like a robot. She was like where she didn't even mourn Dewey's death in Scream 5. She gave Gail a quick hug and then she's like, "All right, let's get this guy." And it's like, excuse me, you're not going to give me a scene of Sidney Prescott mourning the death of Dewey? That's yeah, that always bothered me. But she was back to feeling like an actual character instead of how she was just so hollow. She was like a status symbol almost in Scream 5. Like, hey, we got Nev Campbell. Here she is, guys. That means we're a legitimate Scream film. And it's like, well, okay. If you have her, can you at least use her correctly? Because you guys are just like you just threw her in there and you're like, hey, here she is. Like the movie could have functioned pretty much without Nev Campbell in Scream 5. Not saying it's a bad thing to move on from Nev Campbell. But like if you have her, freaking use her. Because it's just annoying if you don't. Um, Other than that, yeah. But Scream 7, Sidney Prescott, probably the strongest aspect by far of this movie. Um, I feel like some people, because I haven't really watched any like reviews or read any reviews on like Letterboxd or people on YouTube or social media or anything. I've been avoiding all that. So the thing, I think people might have a problem with Kevin Williamson as a director because there's moments where it's almost like he doesn't have enough coverage for some scenes, so they really can't like build up the tension as much. And I don't know, it just some scenes with Ghostface in particular, it just feels like it feels like they happen, but they're not like living and breathing and able to like really get into the like I don't even know how to explain this. It felt like Like, yeah, we're going through the motions. This is a ghost face attack. Okay, it's happening. Everything seems fine, but just in the back of my head, I'm like, something's missing. And I'm still not sure exactly what that is. But I will say I did enjoy um some choices that Kevin Williamson made, and the biggest one that I think like that put a smile on my face was because I from like behind the scenes stuff that I've read about Kevin Williamson, he's a big fan of the original Halloween film, and there's a couple of scenes, there's a couple of shots in this movie where Ghostface is kind of in the background, he's out of focus, and you know if you it's possible that you could miss it if you've only seen this movie once, but you know if you go on, maybe if you rewatch it you'll see it, but I saw a couple of them on my first viewing, and I could see Ghostface, the mask in the shadows, out of focus, just in the background, stalking. And I'm like, oh frick, that's good, because there's one in the cold open, and I don't think it was actually the Ghostface killer. I think it was the boyfriend in a Ghostface costume, but that shot was so amazing. And I think there's another one when uh I think when Ghostface, just before he attacks Joel McHale with all those like plastic tarps hung up, there's a moment when Ghostface, you can kind of see him. I can't remember if it's the top left or top right corner, but he's in the background, out of focus, and all you see is the Ghostface mask. And it's awesome because it harkens back to that uh, shot in Halloween where Jamie Lee Curtis is like sitting down in the house, and she thinks she just killed Michael Myers, but then behind her in the background in the darkness, you just see this Michael Myers mask appearing out of the dark, and it's one of my favorites. It might be my favorite shot of any horror movie. It's just so chilling. It gets me every time, man. But yeah, to see Kevin Williamson kind of utilize that for the Scream franchise was very cool, and it feels like, you know, in my mind, I'm just like, oh man, I bet you Kevin Williamson has had that idea ever since he saw that Ghostface mask for the first time, and then he's been writing these Scream films, and he's like, oh man, like if I ever get the chance, like I wanna do something like that. But and it feels like, oh, that's awesome that he got to do that. Um, what else can I say about this movie? I mean, I feel like there's a great film in here somewhere. I just don't think. I just think this movie was rushed. I just think not enough. I hate to sound mean, but enough thought was put into this movie to fully find what this film could be. This felt like a decent second or third draft of a story that still had a lot of problems and holes to fix and improve. And yeah, I don't know if they needed more time or if they needed different creative voices, but yeah, there's some big problems in this movie. Yeah, it's kind of like that classic sequel problem where in this film the legacy characters are great. Like Gail Weathers when she's on screen is great for the limited time she's on screen. Sidney Prescott or Sydney Evans, whatever the frick her name is now, she's amazing. What other Mindy and Chad. Mindy in this movie, I think Mindy has gotten better and better for me from each movie. Because when I saw her in Scream 5, I'm like, okay, she's kind of doing a Randy Meeks impression. Okay. And then Scream 6, she kind of comes into her own and brings her own personality. And I really enjoyed her. In this movie, she's amazing. Like, for the limited amount of time we have Mindy in Scream 7, I think she is a real highlight. She is just so funny. She brings a lot of life to the movie. Chad, you know, I can take or leave Chad. I think Chad, you know, for what his character is, he's fine. He's very likable. He's very charming. Um, but Mindy, man, I freaking love Mindy. But it's the new characters. They're just not given the time, the love to really be interesting or memorable. Like Sydney's daughter's okay, but oh my god, what's her name? Tatum. Tatum's boyfriend, another generic red herring boyfriend. Are you kidding me? Like we had this in Scream 4. It sucked. And you know what? That's kind of what was refreshing about Scream 5. Um and 6 really. Cuz Scream 5 you had um the Sam's boyfriend ended up being the killer, but he was a very interesting a very interesting character, and he was fleshed out. Um Jenna Ortega's character didn't have a boyfriend, and then Scream 6, Sam had the like little love affair with her like apartment mate or neighbor or whatever it is. She lived he lived in the apartment across the street or whatever. He was an interesting enough character but he really wasn't given enough time. But you know, he didn't feel generic, you know, he actually felt like a person. And then in this movie, it's just a generic high school boyfriend. There was nothing interesting about him. There was nothing of significance about him. Why is he here? Oh, he's here because he's a suspect. So we got to be suspicious of him. Is he an actual character? No, but he's a suspect. And they did that in Scream 4 with Jill's boyfriend. And I'm like, ugh, like I get the purpose he's serving for the story, but can you give us something a little more with this character if we're going to spend so much time with him? And then Tatum's friends are generic high school girl friends. Like they're not given really enough time to really leave a mark. You know, they're just there to either, you know, be another death or be another suspect. They serve no other purpose. They don't give us anything else. Like that's it for them. Um so like I said, I haven't really gone into any of the like I haven't read anything about this movie yet, so but I feel like I can guess a huge problem a lot of folks are going to have with this movie is the killers and also the lack of commentary on horror films found in this movie. Because Scream's whole thing, for the most part, has been to poke fun at and commentate on the current state of movies, especially horror films. And yeah, there's really not much to be found in this movie. They just kind of touch on like nostalgia and like wanting to bring certain characters back, like because you know with Sidney, I get it, but that's all they got. They got nothing because well, hello, we had one in 2022 with Scream 5, and then we had one in 2024, 2023, and then we have another one now. Like we've had three Scream movies in the last few years. So it's like, what has changed? What else can we say about horror movies at this point if we're going to pump out sequels like this? And yeah, I don't think it's really a flaw for this movie to not have that kind of commentary. But and this is a big but. If you're going to take a swing like that and completely go a different direction from this franchise, you have to give us something. And I don't think they really stuck the landing fully for what they wanted to accomplish with this movie, but yeah, that's like if you're going to not give us the commentary, give us something else. And they just didn't. Um some of the sequences in this film are really fun and imaginative. I don't think they were fully explored though, and I'm talking about like the panic room scene where then they go hide in between the walls to try and escape Ghostface. And then there's the scene in the high school with the in the theater when they're rehearsing the play and then Ghostface attacks. Like those are good scenes. Those are great ideas. I just don't know if they were fully explored. Like this is a fun movie, but there's some problems there, man. It just I don't know. I still have to rewatch this movie. I like because I want to rewatch it again. That's the thing. Like I just got out of the movie maybe 20, 30 minutes ago, and I'm already like in a couple of days, I'm gonna really want to watch this movie again just to like really get the idea of if I like this movie or not. I guess on to the killers. They're underwhelming. Both these, well, I guess three of them. So there was the guy that just shows up in the coffee shop, gives a mean look to Sidney, and then she goes on. The guy goes on the attack in the house. Oh, I like the whole like house attack scene. I really like the execution of it. Even the panic room scene. Like I think I really did like that scene and that sequence. But you know, seeing that the attic thing pop up and then him jump down, and I'm like, oh frick, it's getting serious now. Like usually that's a thing that happens like freaking near the end of the movie, but we're going right now. Um, that was really well done. But didn't the cops say they were going to clear the whole house? Yeah, because Joe McHale is like the police sheriff or whatever he is, and then um the there's like two or three other cops with him, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go clear the house. Nobody checks the attic. Excuse me? Like, I get it, the attic's a little inconvenient to have to check, but you gotta check it. There's a killer out here. This is no time for laziness. Like, why even include that in the movie if they aren't actually going to clear the house? That's just pointless. Thank you so much for wasting our time with that little snippet because they didn't clear the house. So why is it here? To show that the cops are incompetent? What does that accomplish in this movie? It's okay, that ticked me off. But anyways, um so you have Carl as the killer, the guy that just gives one mean look to Sidney, and then he attacks in the house, and then he gets run over by Gale Weathers, which, by the way, amazing, amazing way to introduce Gale Weathers and Mindy and Chad into this movie. Freaking amazing. Um, so you had Carl, and then he's dead, like near the beginning of the movie. Kind of interesting, but you're like, obviously, there's at least another killer. There's two more. There's the neighbor which I spotted right away. I literally like gave a little elbow to my brother, and I'm like, she's the killer. Like, it was so obvious to me that she's the killer because I'm like, what other purpose does she serve for this movie other than to be the killer? Because everyone's going to be looking at her son, but I'm like, so why is she getting this amount of like just barely enough like screen time and dialogue? It's like, oh, okay, she's going to be a stupid killer. And then so I'm like, okay, so there's got to be another killer because it's like this lady, it's like, really, that's it? And then it turns out to be the guy that was at the hospital that kind of gave the backstory of Carl and the potential Stu Macher. And so this character, he didn't even have a motive. I'm looking back at the movie now, and when they're explaining why they're the killers, did he even say anything as to why he's the killer? What? He's just covering Stu's tracks for the sake of the screenplay? For that stupid AI twist to make sense and say, like, yeah, Stu was here. He just got out 2 weeks ago. Oh my God, this movie's, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, this is stupid. These killers suck, man. These might be the worst killer. Yeah, no, easily. These are the worst killers in the franchise. Scream 6 had some pretty weak killers, but like Scream 7's killers are way, way worse. Like the whole Stu thing. Like the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay. Yeah, like because I knew Matthew Lillard was in it. That was inescapable for me to see during the production of this film because everyone was reporting on it. So Stu was back, and I'm like, okay, so they're using him as an AI thing. I kind of guessed that was the direction they were gonna go. I think I have a tweet about it. Where I was like, okay, so they're gonna do AI, or like maybe they're gonna do like multiverse commentary because there was like a lot of multiverse movies that came out recently, but they decided to go AI. And I'm like, okay, Stu's here, but it got old. It got old. It didn't really do anything for me after the first time. And I was really at the point where I'm like, okay, I'd rather hear Roger L. Jackson on the phone instead of this stupid AI Stu FaceTime. Because I'm like, this movie's dumb, but is it really that dumb that it's going to turn into a fan fiction movie of bringing Stu back to life? I don't think so. Because let's be real, anyone that wanted, like, thought Stu was still alive, they're either too young to have remembered, or they forgot about how heavy TVs were in the 90s. The screens were glass, man, like legitimate glass. Those things were freaking heavy. It was a chore if you had to move a TV. Now these TVs now they're freaking 5 times the size, but they're light as frick. It's like getting hit with a notebook. Like they are like if like the TV I have in my living room that I'm looking at right now. If that fell on me, Like, I'm not even worried. I'm not even thinking about going to the hospital. If a if a little glass TV that I have still have downstairs fell on me, if I'm not dead and that falls in my head, I'm gonna wish I was dead. Those things are heavy as frick, and especially if the glass breaks on me. Yeah, like Jesus, man. And all the stabbings that Stu took earlier in the kitchen scene with Billy. The dude was bleeding out as it was, and then a freaking heavy TV crushes his head. Yeah, good night. He's dead. Sorry to break it to you guys. I know I love Matthew Lillard too. He's dead. Stop trying to force him back into this franchise just for your own personal like. They got Stu. I love Stu. So do I. But let him die. Jesus, man. Like, what? I don't even remember what I was talking about. Um, but yeah, the whole AI stew thing, it lost its charm pretty quickly, but it just kept going. And I think the biggest problem with this film is people are gonna hate this ending, man. It is so generic. It felt flat. Once it got to that like final showdown that we usually get in these Scream movies, I was checked out. It didn't do anything new or interesting at all. And I think it's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths watching this movie, because I feel like even if you like this movie, you're going to be like, that ending, like what about it was good? Like you had like there was nothing new. We all knew what was going to happen. The killers are going to go on a tangent, and then Sidney or Tatum or even Joel McHale's nearly dead body. How the frick is he still alive too, by the way? But he's like trying to escape, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna do something. They're gonna escape. They're gonna get one of the killers, but one of the killers is gonna get away, and then they think they got him, but then the killer's gonna hide, and like this is cookie cutter Scream ending. It's like we have seen this how many freaking times. Do something different. Like Scream 6's ending felt stale once the Ghostface killers got revealed, but this one is just on another level of bland. So like, I think this is a worthy inclusion of the franchise that I love. I think it does enough for me to be like, yeah, okay, I'm glad it exists. But this just feels like an incomplete, not good movie. It didn't live up anywhere close to its potential. I think Kevin Williamson is, if he's not a first, I think he is. Has he done another movie? I think he's probably had some directing experience at this point in his career, but he's still a newer, lesser experienced director. Listen, I love Kevin Williamson and what he's done for this franchise, but I just feel like maybe there was some shortcomings on his end when it comes to putting this movie together. I think the writing of this movie, I think Williamson co-wrote it, and then with someone else that did like the previous Scream, like couple of Scream films. But this just didn't feel complete. This just didn't feel like a worthy enough story, especially when you're bringing back Sidney. It felt like something's off here, man. But I am gonna go see this movie again, and I'll probably stop his voice memo, and then whenever I see it again, I'll take some notes down, and then I'll put my other thoughts out there to see if it gets better or worse. But in terms of Scream movies, I'd say I think I have at the bottom now probably Scream 6. I think this movie is worse than Scream 6, if I'm being honest. In terms of, I didn't even really talk about the cold open. The cold open was fun, but it just felt like, what does this have to do with the rest of the movie? Like, I get it. It happens in Stu Macher's house, and then I guess they're trying to pin it on Stu, but like, why would Stu burn? Why would he burn down his own house to get Sidney's attention? She didn't even care. Like when the Ghostface called and he's like, haha, I was at Stu's house and killed some people and now I burned it. And she's like, all right, cool. Is she supposed to feel sad about Stu's murder house being burned down? Like, I don't think she has good memories of that house. I think she's going to be okay with you burning it down. I'm going to be real with you. It's like, it's dumb, but that cold open was fun. Like with the little robotic Ghostface scare. And then, like I said earlier, with that shot of Ghostface emerging from the shadows in the background. Um, I think it's overstayed its welcome a little bit. Like, I get it. The boyfriend is like creepily into these killers that actually are real killers in Scream's world, and the girlfriend's just not into it, but she has to get along with it because her boyfriend's into it. But like, it overstayed its welcome a little bit, kind of like this whole freaking movie. So I guess it's kind of poetic, but I don't. It seems so disconnected from the rest of the movie that it's almost it's kind of distracting, really. But so in terms of cold opens, it's probably somewhere in the middle. There's probably been worse cold opens. In terms of killers, far and away the worst Scream movie in terms of their killers. I was not a fan of Scream Six's killers, but holy, this is bad, guys. This is bad. And even what they, I don't even know. But yeah, if I see this movie again, I will resume this voice memo, and then I'll give you my thoughts on if I liked it more or less or the same, and give you if I have any more thoughts. So, okay, ta ta. No, wait, hang on. Okay, this is literally 2 seconds later. I forgot. The people that were in this theater when I saw Scream 7 freaking sucked. There was a couple of three to the right of me in the same row. And you would have thought this was a podcast recording studio and they were just giving every single one of their thoughts that popped into their head throughout this movie. And they were just going to say it out loud. And they were like saying it in a whisper tone, but not a whisper volume. So they were like, they were doing this with their voice, but they were saying it really loud. And I could freaking hear every word she was saying. And she wasn't even saying like anything interesting or funny. They were the stupidest. I think she may have pointed the finger at every character in the movie for being the killer except for Sidney. I seriously think at one point she thought Gail was the killer. And I'm like, listen, lady, if you throw 100 darts at the board, one of them's going to hit a bullseye. Like, I can't remember when the killers came out if she said something like, I knew it. I wish she would have said that. I would have been like, shut the heck up. You don't know nothing. She was annoying. She talked throughout the whole movie, and then her two friends had to do like a little like giggle or like little side comment to make her feel heard, even though. Oh, here's the thing. Before the movie, AMC does a great job. They have like a couple of things where they're like, hey, everyone want to shut up and not be on their phones while the movie happens? Thanks. Great. But this lady in particular walked out of the theater to either get a snack or use the bathroom right before that final announcement before the movie starts. And I'm like, oh, you piece of trash. She had to walk out of that. So she didn't even see that like whole like minute long video of, hey, silence your phones, shut the heck up, be considerate of others, and don't ruin the movie for other people. But she literally didn't get the memo because she had to walk out and take a pee or get a snack. And then behind me, I think the row behind me, there was what sounded like a 4-year-old child in this movie. And I'm like, what? Like, I get it. Kids seem to be like more into horror and like not as scared as like they're getting introduced to horror movies younger than like any like people my age or older. But 4 years old for Scream, there's some gory stuff in this movie, man. Like, there's some good scares. Like, I would have pooped my freaking pants if I saw this movie when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. You know, I didn't get into horror movies till I was in freaking high school because I was a little baby boy. And I get it, middle school, that's probably fine. 4, 5, 6 years old, however old this kid was. Are you kidding me? And he wasn't scared. Like, he wasn't phased. I think at one point there was like a scare and he was like, oh, that was a good one. And I'm like, dude, you are a freaking serial killer in the making in the future. He was not phased at all. And he like I heard him, like he sometimes made comments to his dad throughout the movie. And but he wasn't really distracting, which is great. But I think it was just distracting that he was there. And I heard his little high-pitched, innocent voice. And I'm like, dude, and I'm like watching this movie, but in the back of my head, I'm like, how the heck is this kid this cool, calm, collected? I would have been a wreck. I would have been sweating. I would have been shaking. I would have been closing my eyes for the majority of the film. But this kid was, Freaking cool as a cucumber. Craziness. That's crazy. Okay. Anyways, that's about it. Just wanted to point that out. That why do so many people suck at just shutting up in the movies? It blows my freaking mind. All right, it's me again. I finally saw Scream again. Um, I rewatched it. I even took little notes in my notebook, and let me tell you something. This is the first time I've actually like written down notes in a notebook during a movie. I did not realize how freaking hard it would be to write in a dark movie theater because I'm completely off the lines. I'm writing on top of words. My penmanship is even worse somehow than it usually is. Like if I wasn't like fresh out of writing these words a few hours ago, I would have like I can't wait to look at this notebook like a year or two from now because I'm not gonna know what the frick any of this means or what I'm just trying to say or like what any of this writing is. Like it's bad, man. But yeah, I think I got it. So I watched Scream 7 again, and the two biggest points I walked away with are this is a very watchable movie, which is not the pedestal I like to put the Scream films on because I always thought the Scream franchise was kind of like the pinnacle of slashers because like the Halloween, how many of those sequels are unwatchable? Nightmare on Elm Street, how many of those movies sucked? Freaking how many Friday the 13th movies are the same junk? I hate the Friday the 13th movies, if I'm being real with you. But Scream was always that one that was like, heck yeah, dude. Like, like even if they're not great, like Scream 3 or Scream 6, they are still a fun time. But man, Scream 7, man. It's watchable, but it's mega stupid, if I'm being real with you. So let me just go over my notes that I wrote down, and that's kind of how we'll break it down if I have any more thoughts. So the first note I have is great use of shadows with the ghost face mask. I think I talked about that when I first recorded this voice memo. Next was why burn it down? We're talking about Stu's house. I think I talked about that as well. And then how does cold open connect? And the only thing I can think of is, yeah, let's make it look like Stu Macher's back. I guess, but it's stupid. It didn't really work. There's way better ways to do that. My next note is seriously recreating the bedroom scene again. And yeah, they right after the cold open, here we go again with recreating the bedroom scene that was in the first Scream between Sidney and Billy sneaking into the window. We did this in Scream 4. We're doing it again. Stop, please. It's not that great of a scene. Like I hate when they do that, when they take like middling scenes from the original movie, but then they recreate it or call back to it as like, hey, remember this one? And it's like, yeah, I do. I remember it. Like, it's great. Way to remember, I guess. But like, are we really doing this again? And I guess it served the purpose of, introducing the kind of dynamic we're going to have with Sidney and Tatum. And it does a decent job at that because, Tatum calls Sidney a hypocrite because it's like, you did the same thing. And because we all know it because it's in the movies. And then she starts to like ask questions to Sidney about her past, and Sidney just kind of shuts it down. And my next note is interesting that Sidney doesn't want to open up. And I think that really gets into like, okay, these guys know how to write with Sidney. How Sidney feels like her character again because she was a vulnerable character, but she was strong, relentless, and overcame her fears and got the strength to get things done. But there's vulnerability there because she's a human. She's an actual character, and it's amazing, and it's great to see that again. And I think, yeah, I wrote very real mother-daughter dynamic, and I think that's probably I don't think I really touched on this the first time I watched the movie, and I don't think I gave it enough love, but the mother-daughter dynamic between Tatum and Sidney is very strong. And I think the actor for Tatum does a great job of kind of wanting people to open up to her. She wants to grow. She wants to learn from her mother's past. She wants people to open up to her. There's even a scene with her boyfriend where she's like, "Well, what do you like about me?" And she's like, she wants people to talk and communicate with her and open up and want like their relationships to grow. And people just don't want to give into that. So that's probably the strongest aspect of this movie. I really enjoyed that. Because there's heart to this movie, which I really was missing. And there's a lot of Scream sequels that are missing that. My next note was I really supposed to recognize that jacket? So the scene after where they get into the little fight about the boyfriend sneaking up the window and kicking him out of the house. The next morning, she wakes up and she's wearing a jacket. And I see Sidney like giving this look, and I'm like, what the frick's going on with this jacket? And apparently it's the jacket that she wore in Scream 2. My apologies. I'm not a big enough Scream fan, I guess, to recognize the freaking generic brown jacket that she wore in Scream 2. Like, is this a thing amongst Scream fans where this is an iconic piece of movie memorabilia? This is an iconic costume, and it's like, is it really? Was I supposed to recognize it? Because then after that, they have to freaking literally spell it out. Oh, that's her old jacket. Oh, I haven't seen that since college. And it's like, okay, I guess that's the Scream 2 jacket. Like, was I really supposed to be standing up, standing ovation, applauding for this freaking jacket? I don't know. My next note was a coffee shop worker. Ew. And it's like, oh, Sydney's a coffee shop worker or barista or manager, or I don't know what the frick she does. Okay, I guess out of all the things to give Sydney to do, sure, work at a coffee shop. Okay. My next note was Tatum friends so bland. Another generic boyfriend to act as a red herring. Ugh. I think I covered that when I watched this movie the first time, but yeah, these new friend characters just aren't given enough time or love for the audience to really connect with them. Like these characters are nothing burgers. They're here to bolster up the kill count or bolster up the suspect list. Like that's about all we got. What the frick did I write here? Oh, okay. So I wrote for Sidney overprotective as both a flaw and a strength, and I think that just kind of builds into what I said earlier about Sidney being an imperfect person, but that just makes her a stronger character to connect with because we're all imperfect. I hate to break it to you. Anybody that's listening to this, even though it's in my private voice memos, you're not perfect. Okay, you're not. You're not perfect, and neither is Sidney Prescott, but she's pretty dope. My next note was theater practice, but there's only like 4 people here. And then I wrote like a bunch of question marks. That always just threw me off. And it's like, okay, how is this theater production going to work when it comes time to actually do the play? When we only got like 4 kids going to practice rehearsals. Like, listen, I was never a theater kid as a kid in high school, but I was pretty sure there was more to this production than 4 freaking people. You had one guy operating the like lights and the lift thing. You had 2 actors, and then you had a costume person, and then the teacher that just made inappropriate comments to Tatum. Like that's it. Nobody else showed up. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think this production's gonna make it if nobody's committed to this. And then you know what we learned later. We lost half the people that showed up to this theater practice. So now there's only 2, and now they're shaking. So I think this theater it's either going to be delayed or it's going to get canceled, man. I hate to break it, but seriously, that's all we got. Like I get it for the sake of the scene. You can't have too many people here that'll like see Ghostface because it'll ruin the tension. But like that's it. That's all the people that showed up for this practice. That's not good. That's not good for this production. What the frick did I say here? Like I wrote on top of I put interesting death in school, but feels off. And I think I talked about this the last time I recorded on here, but yeah, it just like it was a very interesting idea. It was a very cool idea of being suspended midair and then Ghostface is coming after you and controlling you. like a very creative thing. Like, okay, that's cool. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it's the pacing of it. I don't know if it was the not enough coverage of it to really get a whole like scope of the scene, but it just feels off. And I was really paying attention to this scene because I knew I had like I liked the idea of it, but I wasn't like 100% on the execution of it. I thought it was kind of funny that Ghostface was kind of treating the person as like a piñata. He's just like stabbing up, like, "Hey, where's my candy?" Um, but then there's that final shot of him like just leaving the knife and having her like cut through her whole body, and then all the guts fall out. Um, I guess maybe it's because like Scream has never been like a really super gory uh horror franchise. Maybe that's I don't know. It felt off, but I really did enjoy the scene of Sidney busting in there. First time she's seen come face to face with a ghost face in how long, and you could like you look at oh my god, Nev Campbell's acting in this scene. She was a wreck, but she just had to push through and try to save her daughter. She didn't know if Tatum's dead. She doesn't know if Tatum's alive. She just sees a dead person. She sees Ghostface. She's freaking out. She's like, I gotta kill this Ghostface. And then, like, some people might criticize that Sydney's a bad shot with the gun in this scene, but it worked perfectly for me because she's an absolute wreck. Look at the look on her face. Look at how she's acting. She doesn't know where her daughter is or if her daughter's okay. She just sees this Ghostface is after her daughter, and she's like, why is this happening again? And there was just so much fear, panic, and dread, and it was good. I freaking love that scene. My next note here is kids seem more worried about looking innocent than being upset over dead friend. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of Scream sequels have this problem where like death means very little in this movie to the characters. It's like these are high school kids and they just saw one of their friends or classmates killed in a brutal fashion. And like this is their friend, and they're just like, well, I'm innocent, guys. Like, I know you're trying to pin this murder on me and make me look like a suspect, but I'm innocent. And I'm showing no emotion for my dead friend. And it's like, well, that's making you look guilty. Stop with your freaking alibis. Your lack of tears and emotion over a person that just died that you were with a couple of moments ago is jarring. Because and I think a lot of Scream sequels have that problem. Scream 6 had that problem with Mindy's girlfriend. She like that ladder scene, she died and Mindy was a wreck, and then well, okay, I guess she's fine. She's back to being invested in this murder mystery. And it's like a lot of the Scream sequels have that problem. What else do I have here? Police clear house but not attic. I think I talked about that before. That was stupid. Why didn't Ghostface kill Tatum in house? And I guess it was because in the end she was like, Tatum, you're the new Sidney. I'm gonna have you be the new Sidney, which is just dumb. You don't think she's gonna tell on you that you're the killer? What like the killer's I hate when the killer's motive and plan doesn't even make sense. It's like if you were to somehow live from this, what was your plan? Was your plan to just like give Tatum a $20 bill and be like, hey, don't tell. I know I killed your mother and everything, but hey, we're cool, right? Yeah, no, that your plan's dumb. So yeah, that was I guess okay. Amazing entrance for Gail. I think I talked about that. Why are Chad and Mindy with Gail? Like that just seems off, doesn't it? Like Mindy was into horror movies, right? Didn't she want to like make movies? Why does she suddenly want to be a crime reporter? Is it because maybe it's because like she didn't guess like the whole thing was like oh she couldn't guess the killers in the first two times, so she's gonna be like next time this Ghostface comes I'm gonna be ready for it. So okay, but Chad is just kind of there to get stabbed again and live and be fine. Chad is entering their Dewey territory for I think he's past Dewey for a number of times stabbed because he got butchered in 6 and he was fine. He got stabbed pretty good in Scream 5 and he's fine. He only got stabbed like one time in this movie. So obviously he's fine. But Mindy and Chad at this point are invincible. Like I just don't think they can get killed. Stu inclusion overstays welcome and feels like fan fiction. I think I talked about that. That mom character serves zero purpose other than being the killer with a dumb motive. True. You're speaking facts, Matt. Gail is a great investigative journalist, but couldn't debunk the Stu thing in like a couple of hours. And like I get it, they give like a half-hearted thing, like, oh, his paperwork in the morgue is lost for his body, and this person is lying about Stu being in that hospital. And it's like, okay, this is Gail Weathers though. She can't smell something fishy going on about like that guy, and like I don't know. Like they make Gail seem like this great journalist, and she's just kind of accepting this half-baked story of Stu still being alive. It doesn't seem like it's her thing. Other killer is guy we see for a minute in hospital to frame a dead Stu. This is so dumb. Matt, preach, my friend. You are speaking facts. All right. Attack on Joel McHale is so sloppy. I like facing the shadows, but why not feed into that and build tension? And that scene, you know, like there's a good amount of like suspense building, but they don't do a good job of like blocking the scene. So I don't know if that's what they're going for, where it's just like I'm very confused and this is almost like a maze. But like, how am I supposed to know if Ghostface is around a corner when I don't know where even the corners are? You know, it just felt sloppy. I think it was a decently well done scene in terms of building tension. I just think it could have been executed better. My next note is when they're in the bar, the rules they lay out just explains the flaws of this film. And this movie almost feels like they're speaking to the fans like, hey, idiots, here, we brought Sidney back. Here, we brought Stu back. Are you happy? Is this what you wanted? And it's like, okay, I get that. I get that commentary, but also you didn't make a good movie. There's not a good screenplay here. So don't point the finger at us like, hey, this is what you wanted. It's like, no, we want a well-made movie. You didn't make that. That's on you. That's not on the fans. That's on you. It's kind of like Joker 2. How like the purpose of it was to like point at the finger at the fans, like what we're trying to make you mad. And it's like, well, like you could have made a good movie because, you know, this is your career. This is your legacy. This is your work you're putting out there, and it's not good. So don't blame me. It's on you. I put Mindy is so great in this movie. I think I talked about it. Like she is like, oh my God, she is like so funny. Her facial expressions, her presence in the movie is so great. My next note was get over the past, move forward. Like stop making all these callbacks. Give us something new. Progress the story. Progress these characters. Stop going backwards. Stop giving us scenes where they're like, oh, only 90s kids will remember this. And it's like, we all love the original Screams because it was new. It was innovative. It was fresh. And this is not. This is stale. This is stupid. This is when Gail interviewed Sidney, and Sidney said Tatum was the last friend she trusted. And I put, what about Randy? Like, did she ever think Randy was the killer? I thought they had a good rapport. What about friggin' Dewey? I guess maybe like Dewey was more of like a family figure to her, but like, what about Dewey? What about Randy? What the frick? Sidney, why you gotta forget about them? I put Gail just leaves story after interview, I guess. She comes back near the very end, but for the whole showdown, like Sidney runs out in a panic to go after her daughter that's being attacked by Ghostface, and Gail's like, "Okay, I'll be right here if you need anything, but my feet are kind of hurting me today, so if you could do this one on your own. I mean, you weren't there for Scream 6, so it's your turn now." It just feels like out of character. Like Gail always wants to be in the thick of it. She always wants to help solve these things. She wants to be the one to help take down these ghost faces, but she's just like, it's getting late. I think I'll take a nap. um, I wrote this feels like Kevin Williamson's version of Scream 3 because Williamson didn't write Scream 3. I think it was Aaron Kruger. And this feels like what I meant when I wrote this was Kevin Williamson's bad Scream movie that he helped write because Scream 4 banger, Scream 2 banger, Scream 1 banger, Scream 7 I want to say a word to describe it, but it's not very nice, Mr. Williamson. My next note is the blocking / geography of the outside chase with Tatum is very confusing and unestablished because I think if you look at a movie like the original Halloween, you knew the geography of the neighborhood, of the houses. Like it establishes the location of everything very well. So when there is a chase sequence, you're kind of there. You know where the characters are. You're following it, and it all makes sense. But in that outside chase, I'm just like, okay, where is she running to? Where is he at? Chasing her. They're like taking different routes, and it's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to confuse me and throw me off and be like, ooh, we don't know where he is. But it's like this is almost just like this is pointless. I also wrote great classic score for Scream film. I wrote that, and then when I was watching the credits, I'm like, oh, Marco Beltrami's back because I don't think he was the composer for 5 and 6. So, like the score was great. This was a really great Scream score. My next note was AI stuff got old so fast, which is like the Stu stuff overstayed its welcome. The inclusion of Dewey and Debbie Salt and Roman Bridger. Okay, cool. Why are they old? Like why are they their current age that the actors are? Wouldn't they be wouldn't it be more jarring to be like Sidney's head as she remembered him? No, but we need a cheap fan service cameo from Dewey and Laurie Metcalf and whatever the frick Scott Foley, I think his name is, Roman Bridger. And where the frick is Jill? Everyone loves Jill. Everyone loves Emma Roberts in from Scream 4. She's one of the most beloved killers in this franchise. Where like not a lot of mention to Scream 4 other than Sidney's book. Like what the heck? Like no mention of Kirby. You brought her back to life. Let's freaking use her. She's freaking dope. Oh, I got a whole nother page of notes here. Jesus. I put so the guy killer is just there for the good times, I guess. Like they don't even attempt to explain his motive. He's like, yeah, I worked in Google, so I know how to do AI. All right. Why don't you give your motive? Because I got nothing right now. Give me a second. And then before he has a chance to think of a motive, he gets shot. So I was like, all right. I put Jessica as a killer representing fans obsessed with wanting Sidney back. And I think that's kind of the thing a lot of people are reading into this. And it's just dumb. She's like, I liked your book, and then you didn't write another book. So now I'm mad that you didn't write another book. Well, reread the book. If it helps save your life, read it again. Run it back. Like what do you? And then she's like, well, you weren't there in New York. So what? Why do you care? It's like I know they're making the commentary of the actor Nev Campbell not being in this reality's Scream movies, but why does it make like do people there's no way people care about true crime so much that they're like, what, this person isn't getting killed, stalked again? This sucks. It's like were people following the Ted Bundy case, and then that one girl that got away, people are like, well, why isn't he going after her again? Why is he going after someone new? This is stupid. It doesn't make sense for the movie. I get the commentary you're trying to say. Really, I do. I get it. And I kind of understand it. But for the movie's sake, it makes no freaking sense, bro. My next note was, what was her freaking plan to get away if she lived? And yeah, that's a problem. There was no plan. It didn't make sense. She's always meant to die. And then I wrote, I've seen this ending play out so many times. Nothing new or creative happened. Correct. And then I wrote, oh, hey, Gail, thanks for showing up. I don't know if I noticed that on my first watch, but I was just like, Gail, where you at? Where you at, my guy? Sorry. And then my final note is, why aren't Chad and Mindy in the hospital? Are they freaking invincible? Like, they both got stabbed in the stomach, right? But they're just like, we got a job to do. We got to report the news. And it's like, you should really, like, not be good right now. Like, I get it. We've seen worse stabbings, but you got stabbed. Okay? Like, you're not okay. You should not be okay to just be, like, energetic and walking around. Like, that's crazy. So that's all I had for my rewatch. I think Scream 7 got worse upon my rewatch because, I mean, nobody really cares about letterbox grades, but I gave it 3.5 stars the first time I watched it, and then I just wrote my review down again for the rewatch, and I put it down to 3. In reality, this is like a 2 to 2.5 star movie, but I just love the Scream franchise so much, and I think there's enough fun inclusions and sequences in this for me to justify giving it 3 stars. So, like, it does enough to be like, okay, I guess I'm okay with you existing, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish you existed in a different form. And that's really how I feel with Scream 7. I think it is the worst of the franchise by a pretty good margin, but I can still see myself rewatching this like a bunch of times because I love the Scream films. So I hope they do better in Scream 8 because this movie is making a pretty good amount of money for Scream film. So I feel like Scream 8's coming. I hope they make a good one, man. Like, give it a few years to really sink your teeth into and have a good idea. Don't rush into production, which I know what's going to happen because this made a lot of money, so they're going to want to capitalize. But have a story to tell, man. That's all I want. All right. Hope you enjoy. Holy cow, 57 minutes. I am so sorry you had to endure all that, but I hope it was somewhat enlightening or entertaining. Okay, I am going to shut the heck up now because I've been talking for way too long.